If you pirate music, I'd care for you to raise your hand right now. This is important. If you believe that piracy is morally questionable, you can put your hand down, but otherwise, I'd like for you to keep it raised. Now, if music piracy is something that you do because it is easily accessible and because piracy is the best way to do it, then you better become familiar with the music streaming service Spotify, because it will rock your freaking world. Spotify could be the solution to your music piracy issues. Spotify is a music streaming service that offers more than 18 million songs available for on-demand streaming whenever you please. A skeptic might say, piracy is only limited by the amount of content out there, bro. Spotify simply can't keep up with that. Well, keep in mind that Spotify is legal, and this improves its marginal utility as a service, considering that in a war of convenience, it is pretty damn inconvenient to be thrown in jail. If you're looking for a reason why you should at least try Spotify, one killer reason that I can think of is really, why not? Because really, why not? The only reason not to is if you have a large personal grudge against the Swedes who happened to invent Spotify, which I assume that you do not. I myself have been a user of Spotify for a while, and after about 6 months on service, I made the jump myself to premium, and it's phenomenal. Technology edge that file ownership may have is negated, as my streaming library is made available offline with my subscription. In most cases, though, this happens not be a problem, as wherever I go, I tend to have either 3G services on my phone or Wi-Fi services available. The only really valid argument I can think of is coming from so-called audiophiles who are very large fans of quality and texture offered by file ownership, but hey, to each his own. However, this does not change the utility advantage that Spotify has, and therefore this begs the question once again of why not use it if it's available for free? Okay, you might say, how would I commence quitting piracy if I wanted to try Spotify? You might ask, where do I start? Why can't I both pirate music and use Spotify? Well, let's start with the lattermost question. Pirating music does hurt the artist. If you're a pirate, piracy was made unavailable, the music you were seeking out when you were pirating, you would have found a different way to listen to. It's okay, I get it. But you aren't helping the artists get their music out there. And I really get it, I do, because pirating music is free and buying music is expensive and it's a hassle. But what I'm saying is it just hurts the artists too much. You might argue that getting an artist's name out there is only facilitated by ease of access, which is something that Spotify, frankly, just has in the bag. Because it's just so easy to get started doing. Spotify requires a simple registration process that takes barely a few moments, and it links in with Facebook, and you can see what your friends are listening to, and the only imperative I can give you not to pirate is that it hurts the artist quite a bit. So maybe you could just think about it. Seriously, just try Spotify piracy free for a while, and there's really no downside to this possible solution. And let me try and explain to you exactly how this can help the artist. For example, here's a price breakdown for Spotify as follows. The $9.99 service fee that you pay for being a premium member is paid out to three parties. $6 goes to the owner of the recordings, $1 goes to the owner of the publishing copyright, and $3 is kept by Spotify. And in addition to this, the artist earns an additional half of a cent for every stream of a song of theirs on Spotify. Let's talk about this last point because I feel that's quite important. Let's say I listen to the song Think Tank by Pat Martino 500 times on iTunes with file ownership. After paying for this album one time, he would earn the same amount of money as if I had listened to it once, as compared to, 500 times. Comparatively, if I would have listened to this song on Spotify the same amount of times, Pat Martino will have earned $2.50 for all of those listens. So if I break this down for the artists I've listened to most in my iTunes library, which happens to be the Human Abstract, if you must know, you'd find that I've listened to songs by them over 3,200 times. And the band has only released 3 albums, and 2 of those I have paid for. So that means that they would have made $16 if I would have listened to them all those times on Spotify, and at $17.99 each for their albums on iTunes, that would have made them $15. So with the Spotify business model, they would have definitely made more money. Therefore, the differences between these two services are like the differences between renting and buying. Renting just keeps paying and paying and paying. So, considering this uh, comparison, iTunes has a payout that's similar to Spotify, where 70% of profit is to the owner of the masters, and Pandora, respectively, has a payout of 50% back to the artist for total revenue gained. So you might ask, why not use Pandora or another streaming service? And my answer is, well, why would you ask about Pandora? Because frankly, it's just not the same type of system. Pandora is a radio service and Spotify is an on-demand music streaming service. They just both happen to deliver music by stream. So, considering that Spotify offers a radio service, it appears to be superior just because of that. The only comparison that you can really make is in terms of payout that they have contracted the artist, and making such a comparison really is absurd. Spotify I see as a viable solution to online piracy. It supports growth in the music industry, and it's just so freaking easy to do that everyone who listens to music should at least give it a try. If you want physical merchandise, there's nothing that's going to stop you from going ahead and buying it, but Spotify happens to have a free version, so you should try that also. If you try Spotify for free, you will still support your artists by way of ads, and if you dislike it, there's really nothing lost other than time or preference or what have you. So Spotify just happens to offer an alternative to piracy that can skirt morally scrupulous blurred lines, and Spotify just flat out beats the other streaming services. Artists will not be harmed by the process of switching to Spotify either, and in some cases they might even benefit from switching to Spotify. They might make more money. Record royalties can pay out from their contracts, and compared to the traditional method of music distribution, this could definitely be a boon. Spotify is the way of the future, so why not hop in early? As an avid music listener myself, I can testify that Spotify, at the very least, has its use in a specific niche for any form of music lover. For every vinyl-hugging hipster and every 50-year-old dad rocker, Spotify has its uses, so you should give it a try. Changing to Spotify will help serve artists payout issues along with personal issues of legality that you might have with using the Pirate Bay. At the very least, you music enthusiasts should really give it a try because you can make a difference. And you can put your hand down if you're a pirate or I just want to torture you.